most of the character a little bit better, and the fight scene is going to be like 10 times as better and faster.
The fights, for people who love martial arts, I think it's just going to be really wonderful because we're really doing a lot of different styles.
You think you know Mortal Kombat as the video game movie that actually didn't suck, but the real battle was happening behind the cameras where a first-time director, dangerous martial arts stunts, and studio executives clashed in a fight for survival. Robin Shou, Christopher Lambert, and a cast of real fighters weren't just performing choreographed combat. They were risking their lives with broken bones, tropical diseases, and a four-armed puppet monster that refused to work. What you're about to discover will shock you. A rookie British director who bet his career on respecting the source material, actors performing stunts that would be illegal today, and a shoestring budget production filmed in Thailand that somehow defeated big-budget Hollywood rivals. The fatalities were toned down, but the behind-the-scenes chaos was brutally real. Paul W.S. Anderson, director Paul W.S. Anderson's selection to direct Mortal Kombat was one of Hollywood's most unlikely gambles. A 29-year-old British director with only one obscure film to his credit, suddenly entrusted with a major studio's franchise hopes. But what most people don't realize is that Anderson's youth and inexperience became his greatest assets, allowing him to approach the material with genuine enthusiasm rather than cynical calculation. Anderson's passion for the Mortal Kombat video game was authentic and obsessive. He had spent countless hours mastering the arcade version, studying every character's moves, backstories, and the game's unique blend of martial arts and supernatural mythology. When he pitched his vision to New Line Cinema executives, his encyclopedic knowledge of the source material convinced skeptical producers that he understood what fans wanted better than any established Hollywood director who would have treated it as just another action project. The studio's initial skepticism was enormous. New Line executives had watched Street Fighter, the movie become a critical and commercial disaster despite its bigger budget and more famous cast, making them terrified of another video game adaptation failure. They questioned whether a director barely out of film school could handle complex martial arts choreography, special effects, and international locations. Anderson's pitch succeeded because he promised something revolutionary, treating the video game mythology with the same seriousness that audiences brought to it. Anderson's biggest battle was the PG-13 rating compromise. The Mortal Kombat games were famous for graphic fatality finishing moves where winners brutally executed their defeated opponents. Fans expected blood, gore, and extreme violence, but New Line insisted on PG-13 to maximize the potential audience. Anderson had to figure out how to capture the game's violent spirit while satisfying both studio commercial demands and hardcore fan expectations, a balancing act that seemed impossible. The casting controversies. The casting of Mortal Kombat became a battleground over representation, authenticity, and Hollywood's troubled relationship with martial arts cinema. Every major role sparked controversy, revealing deep tensions about who could play video game characters and whether acting ability or fighting skills mattered more. Robin Shou's casting as Liu Kang represented a breakthrough for Asian American representation in action cinema. Shou, a Hong Kong martial artist and actor, fought against studio pressure to cast a white actor as the film's hero. Executives argued that American audiences wouldn't accept an Asian leading man, suggesting they cast a Caucasian actor and change the character's ethnicity. Shou and Anderson insisted that Liu Kang's identity as a Shaolin monk was essential to the character, and casting a non-Asian would betray the source material and Asian martial arts cinema traditions that inspired the game. Christopher Lambert's casting as Raiden, the Thunder God, created the film's most bizarre creative choice, a French actor playing a Chinese deity with an inexplicable accent. Lambert, famous for Highlander, brought name recognition but questionable suitability for an Asian mythological character. His decision to play Raiden with his natural French accent rather than attempting Asian inflections created a performance that fans found either charmingly eccentric or completely inappropriate, depending on their perspective. Bridget Wilson's Sonya Blade represented Hollywood's attempt to create a strong female character in a genre dominated by male heroes. Wilson, primarily known for modeling and light comedy, had to undergo intensive martial arts training to convince audiences she could fight alongside professional martial artists. Her casting sparked debates about whether action heroines needed genuine fighting skills or if Hollywood stunt work and editing could create convincing female warriors. Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa's Shang Tsung became the film's most universally praised casting decision. Tagawa brought Shakespearean gravitas to a video game villain, treating the evil sorcerer with deadly seriousness rather than camp. His background in both Asian and American cinema allowed him to bridge cultural styles, creating a villain who felt authentically threatening rather than cartoonish. Martial arts authenticity versus Hollywood. The fight choreography for Mortal Kombat represented a collision between Eastern martial arts cinema traditions and Western Hollywood action filmmaking, creating constant creative tension that nearly destroyed the production multiple times. Anderson's vision required blending authentic fighting techniques with video game moves that defied physics and human anatomy. The decision to hire real martial artists instead of actors who learned fight choreography revolutionized the production's approach. Robin Shou brought legitimate kung fu expertise, while supporting cast members included professional fighters who prioritized realistic technique over Hollywood theatrical combat. This created immediate conflict with American stunt coordinators accustomed to fight scenes designed for visual impact rather than martial authenticity. Anderson imported Hong Kong wirework specialists to create the game's signature jumping attacks and impossible aerial maneuvers. This technique, common in Asian action cinema but rare in American films, required actors to perform complex martial arts while suspended on nearly invisible wires. The learning curve was brutal, with American actors unaccustomed to the physical demands struggling to maintain form while dangling in harnesses. The injury toll during fight scene filming was staggering and would be considered unacceptable by modern safety standards. Multiple actors suffered broken bones, torn ligaments, and serious bruises from fight choreography that prioritized authenticity over safety. Robin Shou broke his ankle during a jumping kick sequence but continued filming in a walking cast hidden by his costume. One stunt performer required emergency hospitalization after a wire malfunction caused a dangerous fall. The cultural clash between Eastern and Western fight philosophies created constant creative debates. Hong Kong choreographers wanted longer takes showing complete techniques, while Hollywood editors preferred rapid cutting that disguised imperfect execution. Anderson had to mediate between traditions, creating a hybrid style that satisfied neither approach completely, but created something uniquely suited to video game adaptation. The fatality problem adapting Mortal Kombat's graphic violence for PG-13 rating represented the production's most challenging creative problem: how to capture the game's brutal signature without the explicit gore that defined the franchise. Anderson's solution required reimagining what video game violence could mean in live-action cinema. The original arcade game's fatality finishing moves were legendary for their graphic violence. Characters ripping out spines, burning opponents alive, freezing and shattering bodies. These moments define Mortal Kombat's identity, distinguishing it from other fighting games through shocking brutality. Hardcore fans expected the film to recreate these iconic kills, making the PG-13 mandate feel like betrayal before filming even began. Test screenings revealed the dilemma's severity. Early cuts that included more graphic violence tested well with core gaming audiences, but received complaints from general viewers and concerned parents. Versions that softened the violence disappointed fans who felt the film had abandoned what made Mortal Kombat special. Anderson found himself caught between incompatible audience expectations with no obvious compromise. The creative solution involved implying violence rather than showing it explicitly, using camera angles, lighting, and editing to suggest brutal outcomes without graphic imagery. When Johnny Cage punches an opponent's head off, the film shows the setup and aftermath, but cuts away from the actual decapitation. This technique satisfied censors while allowing fans to mentally fill in the missing violence from their game knowledge. The final compromise included several implied fatalities that honored the game's spirit while maintaining the PG-13 rating. Characters died in spectacular ways, but the camera avoided lingering on gore. This approach disappointed some hardcore fans who wanted explicit violence but allowed the film to reach broader audiences while maintaining martial arts intensity. Goro, the CGI nightmare. Creating Goro, the four-armed half-human, half-dragon Shokan warrior, became Mortal Kombat's most expensive and frustrating technical challenge, revealing how 1995 special effects technology couldn't achieve what the production desperately needed. The decision between computer-generated imagery and practical animatronics sparked creative battles that nearly derailed the entire production. The initial plan called for cutting-edge CGI to bring Goro to life, allowing fluid movement and realistic interaction with human actors. But when the production team saw early digital tests, they were horrified by how unconvincing the computer-generated creature looked. The technology simply wasn't advanced enough to create a photorealistic four-armed monster that could hold its own against live actors in sustained fight sequences. The animatronic solution seemed like a reasonable compromise, building a massive practical puppet creature operated by puppeteers and an actor inside a suit. Tom Woodruff Jr. and Alec Gillis from Amalgamated Dynamics designed an elaborate Goro costume that required multiple operators to control the creature's forearms, facial expressions, and body movements. The technical complexity was staggering, requiring perfect coordination between operators who couldn't see what they were doing. The on-set reality proved nightmarish. The Goro suit weighed over 100 pounds and required the internal performer to work in sweltering heat with severely limited visibility. The creature's movements were painfully slow and unnatural, making fight choreography nearly impossible. Scenes that should have taken hours required full days of filming as the technical crew struggled to make Goro's forearms move convincingly, while the performer inside tried to execute basic actions. The most devastating problem was Goro's frequent mechanical failures during crucial scenes. Hydraulic systems would malfunction, causing arms to freeze mid-movement or collapse entirely. Electronic facial controls would short out from the performer's sweat, leaving Goro's expression blank during emotional moments. These technical disasters forced Anderson to film around the creature's limitations, reducing Goro's screen time and eliminating planned fight sequences that the puppet simply couldn't execute. Location hell in Thailand. Filming Mortal Kombat in Thailand transformed the production into a survival ordeal where cast and crew battled tropical diseases, cultural misunderstandings, and environmental chaos that made completing the movie feel like its own martial arts tournament. The decision to shoot in Southeast Asia saved money but cost everyone their physical and mental health. Budget constraints drove the Thailand location choice. Building elaborate temple sets and jungle environments in Hollywood would have bankrupted the modest production, while Thailand offered authentic Asian locations, cheap labor, and established film infrastructure. But the financial savings came with hidden costs that nobody anticipated until filming began and everything started falling apart. The cultural clashes between Western film crew and Thai production staff created constant miscommunication and frustration. American expectations about working hours, safety protocols, and equipment standards didn't translate to Thai film industry practices. Language barriers made complex technical instructions nearly impossible, forcing production managers to communicate through multiple interpreters who often misunderstood the original request. Simple tasks that would take minutes in Hollywood required hours of explanation. Weather became the production's most relentless enemy. Monsoon season arrived earlier than expected, destroying outdoor sets and making jungle locations inaccessible for days at a time. The elaborate temple set built for the final tournament scenes flooded repeatedly, ruining expensive props and forcing crew to rebuild elements multiple times. Filming schedules became meaningless as tropical storms halted production without warning, trapping cast and crew in remote locations waiting for weather to clear. The temple filming controversy created unexpected political complications. Several locations were active religious sites, and Thai officials imposed strict rules about what could be filmed and how crew could behave. Production had to negotiate constantly with local monks and government representatives, navigating cultural sensitivities while trying to capture scenes of supernatural combat in sacred spaces. Some planned shots were forbidden entirely, forcing last-minute script revisions. Beating Street Fighter, the movie. The 1994 to 1995 battle between Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat video game film adaptations became a cautionary tale about how budget size doesn't guarantee success, and respecting source material matters more than star power. Mortal Kombat's unlikely victory validated Anderson's vision and changed Hollywood's approach to video game adaptations forever. Street Fighter. The movie had every advantage: bigger budget, more famous director, Stephen E. D'Souza, and genuine movie stars including Jean-Claude Van Damme and Raul Julia. Industry insiders predicted it would dominate, while Mortal Kombat would be forgotten as a cheap knockoff. The productions were happening simultaneously, creating a race to see which video game franchise would claim cinema supremacy. Budget differences revealed contrasting philosophies. Street Fighter spent over $35 million creating elaborate sets and paying star salaries, while Mortal Kombat's modest $18 million budget forced creative solutions and prioritized martial arts authenticity over celebrity appeal. Street Fighter looked expensive but felt hollow, while Mortal Kombat's scrappier approach created genuine energy that resonated with audiences. The box office verdict was decisive and shocking. Mortal Kombat earned $122 million worldwide on its modest budget, becoming a genuine hit, while Street Fighter's $99 million return barely covered its inflated costs and marketing expenses. Industry analysts were stunned that the cheaper, less star-driven film had won both critically and commercially. Mortal Kombat proved that passion and authenticity beat big budgets and star power. Anderson didn't just make a video game movie, he created the blueprint for adaptations that actually respect their source. Subscribe to discover more shocking secrets from Hollywood's greatest underdog victories.